environment all set up. I'm ready to start marking up my page. So I'm going to go to my index.html file and start building in the skeleton of the markup. This is the uh, broad outer level of page structure that's going to define the content that shows up on my web page. So inside my body tag, I'm going to start with my first section. This is going to be a nav, and this nav is going to have a class that's equal to top nav so that I know which nav I'm talking about. And now that I've added that, opened that nav tag, I'm going to close it. And this is at the same level as the text I've already got. I think I'm going to keep the text I've already got and change the h1 tag to an h2 tag. And I'm going to wrap that whole area in a section that has a class that's equal to hero. And this is going to be the hero area of the page. And since I have opened that up, I'm going to close it. And since I did this a little bit backwards because of the nature of the lesson, so I have to properly indent my code. So now my section tag opens on this line, which is at the same level as the nav, and it closes down here at the same level of indentation. This p tag is out of place and it's bothering me, so I'm going to bring it up to the bottom there. And now I have a hero section, and aside from having some content in this section, I'm going to call this content a div, and this div has a class of hero text. And I'll close that div down below. And again, because I'm adding this on later, I've got to correct the indentation. There we go. Now I have a section with a class of hero, and inside that section I have one div that has a class of hero text that closes here. And I'm going to open up a second div, and this will have a class that's equal to hero image, and I'll close that div. And now I don't need to indent because I'm doing things in the proper order again. I'm going to leave this div empty for the moment and move on to the next section. And this section is going to be a description section. So that sounds like a good enough name. We'll call this section with a class equal to description. And now that I've opened that section, I'm going to close it. And I know from my mock-up I wanted a gallery section, so I'm going to add another section here with a class equal to gallery. And now that I've opened that section, like always, I'll close it. And that's pretty much it for my content. Oh, I think I do want to add a section with a class equal to resources. And close that section. And in between those two, I think I'll add a section with a class equal to gallery and close that section. So now I have the broad areas of the page laid out, and I'll start filling them in here. So the first thing I want to do is add content to my div with a class of hero image in my first section. But we're going to take a moment and load this up in the browser and see what it looks like. So I'm going to navigate back to my browser version of this and refresh the page. And we should see that there's been no changes caused by any of this markup that I've added. And that's actually as expected. I didn't actually add any new content. This is the only content I had or would have so far. All I've added is semantic markup. That is, markup that means something to the browser and to readers of the code, but doesn't necessarily result in any display changes. So this seems like a good point for us to pause and make a commit in our GitHub repo. So I'm going to switch back over to my GitHub window, and we should see some changes here. We see that there's no changes actually here, and the reason for that is because I haven't saved the changes in my text editor. So I'm going to Command S or File, Save, and save those changes. And when I go back to my GitHub window, we can see that these changes, it's actually one change so far because it's only a change to one file, have been staged, which is to say they've been set up in the GitHub client. You can see what's changed here is that this red text has been removed and it's been replaced with this green text. And you can see the line numbers associated with these changes, which correspond with the line numbers in my text editor, which is a handy synchronization. So now I have these changes added, and I agree that they are correct, so I'm going to go forward with them. And I need to name this commit. This will be this commit right here. And I'm going to name this one as Semantic. Well, I'm going to phrase this as adds semantic markup. And the description is roughs out the skeleton of the page. Yeah, that's a good enough commit message, and I will commit this to the master branch. And now I'm moved to the next step. This commit has now been committed. And I have a new commit that's been opened and it's ready to accept changes. I could sync these changes with the GitHub server, but I really have no need to do that at this point since I doubt anybody's following along with me. And that means I'm ready to move on to the next step in my editing process.